have at one
Standing
time.
up and speaking out, here's Hal Sparks.
Yes. Once again, we board the crazy train that is Glenn Beck. And joining us, Angelo, also known as Stop Beck. Hi, Angelo. You still with us?
I'm here.
Fantastic. So as I was saying as we were going to the break, I was getting a little flurry of tweets from somebody calling themselves Liberty Bell, and that has a picture of Liberty Bell. Do you get them messages from them a bunch?
Yes, I do.
Okay, that's probably how they knew. Which is always fun to get little messages from people who don't have a picture of themselves, put a fake moniker up, no website that goes back to them, no way to trace who they are, what they stand for. They could be the BTK killer for all you know. But we're supposed to take their political argument and their, I believe in liberty and standing up for the Constitution behind a mask and a silly name. So, by the way, my Twitter, for anybody who wants to know, is @HalSparks. So there you go. I make my own point. But his points were, one is that I would kill to have Glenn Beck's ratings. Well, I certainly would not have kill to have my ratings drop by 50% in a year. He says, how about MSNBC's political agenda? MSNBC having a political agenda is their option, and they say lean forward, and it's kind of obvious, but they never call for the death of anyone. You never hear.
Right. And I'm just so sick and tired of this false equivalency argument.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not some. I don't like identity politics to begin with, and
right.
I certainly don't like my politics to be identified by a commercial media outlet, whether it be CNN, MSNBC, or
right.
Fox News, regardless. But see, Fox News fans, many of them do have their politics identified within Fox News, and there's a good reason for that. MSNBC might lean left or whatever, might have a slightly, somewhat centrist perspective. That's fine. But they're not a political operation.
Right.
Fox News is a political operation. We have leaked emails that show that they not only intentionally, they tell their reporters, their hard news reporters, to lie about science. Mm-hmm. We have leaked emails that reveal them micromanaging down to the very word how they're going to describe the public option. I mean, that's what a political operation does,
right.
not a news agency. And then, of course, we have $55 million of in-kind contribution last year alone to 2012 Republican candidates. Now, that's a political operation. That's not what a news network does. And
right.
We could go back and talk about all the things that they do to support that point. But it's just nonsense. They're not the same. If they were the same, our politics, our public discourse would be very different.
Yes, it would be. Well, it would be all-out war because if you had both sides firing that kind of violent rhetoric on a regular basis. And by the way, one of the reasons why I think they keep Glenn Beck on the air is to make Bill O'Reilly seem normal by comparison. It is ironic that he has somehow become the elder statesman and almost sympathetic in this argument sometimes. When Glenn Beck was eating his lunch in the ratings for a while, and literally he had to have Glenn on his show to kind of boost his own spot, and and he's an egomaniac to begin with. But the thing is, I think all of Glenn Beck's egomaniacal rantings are violent in their essence, and I think all of Bill O'Reilly's egomaniacal rantings are sexual in their in their essence. And I think he looks at this way as he's for power, it's attention and love for Bill O'Reilly. For Glenn Beck, he views himself as sort of a messianic leader. And, right. Who, by the way, I'm sure you've heard that clip, the thing about, Glenn, do we have a little bit of that clip? Since we have you on the line, let's play a little bit of Glenn Beck arguing why we don't need trains.
America doesn't need any more choo-choo trains. Enough. Amtrak loses money on 41 of 44 routes. And over $1 billion every year gone. You know why? Because nobody's riding it. Making them faster isn't going to help. Let me show you how the choo-choo train thing works.
Wow.
Here's the tracks. Ooh, look at this. Fly, California.
By the way, for those
nice?
of you, for the who's at home, he's actually got he's drawn train tracks on a chalkboard, and he has a picture of a freight train and a picture of a passenger train, just so you know.
Nice.
Cargo train. It's great. Now, let me show you what happens. Here in America, because that's what we're talking about, not that fancy Europe or China. Here in America, we have one set of tracks. And a choo-choo train that's carrying all of our stuff is using this track. And so are the really fast bullet trains. Uh-oh, choo-choo! That's why we don't build them here. We have to lay another whole set of tracks for the fancy choo-choo train.
Okay, that's enough. Literally, we just listened to a man explain that we should not advance the American train system because it's not advanced enough. We should not. Our train system is too old to be made new. This is literally his argument.
That's right. Yeah, well, and it's brilliant, and people buy it, and then of course they think, oh, geez, Glenn Beck makes a really good point there. We should stop investing in bridges too, and all other kinds of vital infrastructure. I mean,
do you realize how many during the day? Do you know how many hours bridges are not used? This is ridiculous. We have these bridges. Why can't we make these bridges only there when there are cars on them? This would save us billions of dollars in maintenance. We don't have to maintain these bridges that are not used at night, but by 1 or 2 cars. That's ridiculous. I mean, this is the argument.
Yeah, it is. It's very scary. And, when he gets out there and tells people that the President of the United States is building FEMA concentration camps for 3 weeks straight on his Fox News show and then drops it completely, that kind of stuff gets stuck in people's heads.
Sure it does.
And they go back and they see, gee, why is President Obama trying to build trains? I can't imagine why. Oh, maybe it has to do with those concentration camps Glenn Beck told me about.
Exactly. By the way, we have a caller on the line who has a question for you. It's Ed on line 2 has a question for Stop Beck.
Ed hung up.
Oh, did we lose him? Okay, sorry, we got too carried away and we're talking too much. This is kind of an interesting thing too, because he has been making this kind of case that government, is the problem, that Social Security and these kind of things. This is the right angle that he's been taking, and a lot of them have taken up the mantle that that it makes people soft. And he brings on people from the Ayn Rand Institute on a fairly regular basis, while being a religious leader, not realizing or not even caring, I suppose, that Ayn Rand said that anybody with a religious thought in their head is insane and should be medicated or hospitalized for that because. And we just recently find out Ayn Rand in the 70s, she and her husband took Social Security and Medicare in the last few years of her life. What do you know? So the level of hypocrisy they're comfortable with is stunning. But I think it's the violence of Glenn Beck that really has led to his drop in the most the most sponsors. Wouldn't you agree?
I think it really depends. I mean, advertisers are concerned about different things, and the reality is, a lot of them, I don't tell people that Glenn Beck incites violence. I never say that. What I actually say is that Glenn Beck validates those that would potentially engage in violence, right? And I think there's a slight distinction there.
Yes.
Because what he does is gives people all the tools and the sort of the stamp of go ahead and act in self-defense, and that's what scares me. He tells people that their life is in actual danger. I mean, physical, imminent danger.
Yes.
And then he tells them that this 78-year-old professor in the City University of New York is the one that's going to go out there and kill them and kill their families. And he says it over and over and over and over again. And so while he's not saying go out and grab her and kill her, what he is saying is that you must act in self-defense.
Right.
And here's the person you must act against. And so it's very different than inciting it directly, but he validates it.
Well, it has an
encourages it.
Yes, it has an actual name. It's called stochastic terrorism, and we've talked about it on the air a couple of times on here. It's what you do when you know that there's a certain number of crazies who will do exactly what you would like them to do. You don't have a specific target. You're not trying to eliminate one particular politician or one particular group. You're trying to scatter and scare the entire group. So what you do is you just take for granted there are 6 or 10 crazy people out there, and then you just start ratcheting it up. Just day after day, moment by moment, make sure that they get locked in, make them think you're the only voice that understands them, and then turn them loose. And I mean, you could see him winding these people up.
Yeah, definitely, and that's why I say he's either intentionally destructive or reckless. Either way, there needs to be accountability for that, because that's a total lack of responsibility on his half.
Right.
And what the participants in the Stop Beck effort have done, whether or not Glenn Beck is still on the air, obviously he is. But what the participants in the Stop Beck effort have done is attach real costs to Glenn Beck's deceit and vitriol in the form of money. And, as we go forward, obviously, Fox News has not gotten the message. Now I'm at Media Matters, and we'll be launching the Drop Fox campaign, which is sort of a broader approach than the Stop Beck effort, and it's designed to really push back. I believe in pushing back, but when we push back, we have to push forward, too. And I think that, we can't just say, oh, Fox News is lying again. Let everyone blog about it and talk about it. No. We need to stop it now, because it has consequences for us all. And Beck represents the very worst that comes out of that network and the very worst potential for all of us. And we've seen it in the violent acts from his fans directly in the form of Byron Williams, and we've seen it in other forms of fans who have said and have been arrested for either attempting assassinations or attempted engagement in violence or violence, all of which have said that they were inspired by Glenn Beck. There were 3 examples alone last year of fans directly saying that they acted in violence because of things that they heard and said that they heard on Glenn Beck's program.
Right.
And so, it's time for real accountability, and what the Stop Beck effort has done so far is deliver that.
Yeah, I think you've done a fantastic job, and I think it's great you took the emotional and moral impetus of something you cared about, and you made it something concrete out of it. And I encourage everybody out there to give you a follow, Stop Beck, on Twitter. And, of course, go to the Media Matters for America site. I mean, it's one of the greatest sites for the dissection of the right-wing noise machine that you've ever seen. And now that they have you on the team for the Dropbox campaign, I think I think it was a smart move on their part, quite frankly, my friend.
Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. You've been great all this time.
Absolutely.
So I just can't thank you enough.
No worries. When I first heard that you were doing this, I started retweeting you like crazy and trying to get as many people on board and paying attention because you did such great work, and I greatly appreciate it and hope one of these days. Where are you? Well, I won't ask you where you're located. We'll talk someday. But we'll hopefully we'll meet in person sometime, and you'll come to a gig or something like that, and we'll get the chance to have a sit down, and people can see on the Ustream and all that fun stuff.
Yeah,
but
sounds great. Big fan.
Thanks so much, Angelo. Great work.
Thank you.
Back up. Cheers. This is the Hal Sparks Radio program, live from WCPT Radio in Chicago. We're broadcasting from Denver, Colorado at KBPI Rocks 106.7 The Rockies. And they were nice enough to loan us a studio today so that we could talk to Angelo / Stop Beck Carusone. I'm never going to say his name right. I just know I'm going to mangle it forever. So we'll just go to MediaMatters.forAmerica.org. Great site. We'll be back right after this with more of your calls. 773-838-9278. It's the Hal Sparks Radio program, isn't it, Chris?
It is. It's truly Hal Sparks Radio program.
Well done.